National leaders gather in the district to discuss the Trayvon Martin case. Good evening. It's Wednesday, April 11th. I'm Rochelle Metzger. 44 days after 17-year-old Trayvon Martin was gunned down near his Florida home, questions still arise over why the man who murdered the teenager hasn't been charged or arrested. Well, today, a national conference featuring Martin's parents was held in Washington. CTV Sonia Srivastava was there and has the details.
Well, the parents of Trayvon Martin are here in Washington. They spoke here just a few moments ago at the Washington Convention Center, and they are certainly renewing their calls for justice in their son's murder. Now, earlier this week, we learned that a grand jury will not be looking at the Martin case. Instead, a special prosecutor, Angela Corey, will be making the decision on whether to press charges against George Zimmerman, the man accused of gunning down their son. Today, this is what they had to say.
For the last 44 days, it has been a nightmare. And this is coming from a mother's perspective. I have been up and down as if I was on a roller coaster. But I know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that justice will be served.
We were very elated to see that Angela Corey said she's not passing the buck, that she is going to do a thorough investigation, and she's going to review all the evidence after she's done a full, fair, and impartial investigation. Grand jury proceedings are closed-door private proceedings that you don't know what happens in those proceedings. So the prosecutor can come out, and we don't know what kind of case they presented to the grand jury, and they get to wash their hands like Pilate and say, well, it was the community's decision, and they made the decision. But because she chose not to do that, we all get to watch and see the evidence when it goes to court.
We are not seeking to convict anybody. We're seeking to stop them from acquitting someone without a trial.
Now, the special prosecutor in the case is expected to render her decision anytime, and of course, CTV will continue to follow the story and bring you the very latest. In the district, I'm Sonia Srivastava. Back to you in the studio.
Florida Special Prosecutor Angela Corey is expected to announce formal charges against George Zimmerman this evening. Well, opinions continue to pour in as we wait to see if charges will be filed against George Zimmerman. Congresswoman Donna Edwards, who has a son close to Martin's age, says she understands the pain that the parents feel. She also says the case will have a lasting impact on the nation.
I think for our young people, especially, for people like me who have young male, young people as our children, are always concerned that police and others in authority act with responsibility to all of our citizens in a fair way, and that we have laws that are in place that don't jeopardize the civil rights and civil liberties of anyone. And I think that those are the messages that are coming out with respect to Trayvon Martin. It's the reason that so many people identify with this.
Zimmerman's lawyers resigned from the case yesterday, saying they had lost contact with their client. Well, there is some relief on the way for cancer patients thanks to a bill signed by Governor Martin O'Malley. Lawmakers, doctors, and survivors gathered near the State House yesterday to celebrate. The bill, named after Senator James Mathias's wife Kathleen, makes anti-cancer medications more affordable for thousands in the state. A breast cancer survivor says this legislation will help patients like herself.
I'm not going to be Googling anymore, looking for foundations to find out how I'm going to pay for my care, which is going to be a benefit for me that I can focus on getting well instead of focusing on how can I pay to get well. So this is a big relief for me that the parity has been signed by Governor O'Malley.
The bill has Kathy's name. Certainly what it has is all of our spirits, and it'll give out the inspiration and the hope to other patients and families that Kathy had. These drugs are becoming more effective, they're becoming more refined, and now they're becoming more affordable. And that's really what this is all about.
Senator Mathias's wife has been battling breast cancer since 1997. The legislation will take effect in October. Well, shift workers called for jury service will now have more protections under Maryland law. According to the legislation, an employer cannot require an employee summoned for jury duty for more than 4 hours to work an evening shift that same day or an early shift the following morning. Delegate Marvin Holmes sponsored the bill and says why it's important.
For those who serve on jury duty, if you work at night, and then you have to go to jury duty during the daytime, you have to basically work 2 jobs. There's no time for a rest and take a nap, or there's no requirements from the employer to give you time off work. If you work at night and have to go to jury duty in the morning.
And you think this is an injustice, it's unfair?
Yes, it is. We need to have something that lets people go to jury, because we have hard enough time trying to find people who can participate in jury duty.
Governor Martin O'Malley signed the measure into law on Tuesday. It officially takes effect on October 1st. Well, the Maryland General Assembly session is over, but with important budget matters left unresolved, the governor may summon lawmakers back to Annapolis. If that happens, County Executive Rashawn Baker says he hopes legislators will take up gaming expansion. Baker lobbied hard for a late-moving gambling bill that would have allowed a casino to be built in Prince George's. Despite opposition from members of the county's own delegation, Baker says the measure merely asks lawmakers to allow the issue to go to referendum so voters can decide. Baker believes the budget, revenue, and gaming are all tied together. Nonetheless, the measure got mixed up in budget negotiations and failed to pass before the session ended.
I was surprised that we didn't finish in time. I think we were very close. We had worked out clearly some compromises with the other 5 localities. I think we bent over backwards. Clearly, Baltimore City had some concerns. We addressed those concerns. Anne Arundel County had some issues, and we addressed those. But the bottom line for all of us was how do we get revenues back to our counties and to the city so that we don't have to make the type of drastic cuts that we'll have to make if we don't find revenues. That gaming bill is $69 million to Prince George's County a year if it passes. But it also means additional revenues to Baltimore City, Anne Arundel County, and the other jurisdictions that have gaming in their localities and need expanded gaming in terms of table games.
Baker says now it's just a waiting game. In the meantime, he has asked county department heads to look at their budgets and identify areas where additional cuts can be made. Well, the suspects who robbed an M&T bank early this morning have been captured by police. According to officials, 2 men entered the bank on the 1400 block of Campus Way South just after 9:30 a.m. The suspects fled the scene with an undisclosed amount of cash, but were later apprehended in New Carrollton. Police have reported no injuries in the case and say the suspects were unarmed. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Rochelle Metzger.